Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Today's workshop is a little bit different. We are starting an hour early because we have some other obligations at the team that we have to attend to, but it is nothing less interesting than other workshops that we had before. So today I'll be joined by Andrew, a little bit more about that in a couple of moments. And as usual, I want to start by providing you with a couple of updates related to Scope, to the stuff that we're currently building, Daydream ecosystem, so you can have all the info directly from the source. So we are currently running in parallel to a bunch of different events and activities our AI video program. So by the end of this week, the cohort participants will be submitting, by the end of the Friday, actually tomorrow, the cohort participants will be submitting their works, and we've already seen some really incredible creations from our participants. People have been building different interactive experiences, but one of the things that we also emphasized and motivated them to do is to use our brand new plugin architecture and try to build plugins, whether using them as a part of the main pipelines or pre-processors or post-processors. So if you go to our plugin registry, you will already be able to see a bunch of plugins built by ourselves internally at Daydream and Scope, but also a bunch of them built by our community members. And I'm checking here. Yeah, I have on chat I have a couple of people from the cohort already here. One of them is Cosmic Crafter. Cosmic built a interesting plugin, Cosmic VFX, I think. I hope I'm not butchering the name, with 30 really cool VFX that you can use on top of the pipelines that are, on top of the models generated in Scope. So yeah, we encourage people to explore plugins as a means for them to develop creative experiences, regardless of their artistic inclination or maybe more their technical background. We've also seen a lot of people using vibe coding in this cohort, which was very encouraging for us. Some very complex solutions have been built using the vibe coding approaches that we've shared more about last workshop, I believe, like last Thursday. So for those of you who are interested in building for Scope or around Scope, but feel intimidated by a complexity that it might involve, go check our previous workshop where we talked more about two things. One of them was the vibe coding approach. Another one done by Ryan was using Vase, using LoRa's for really getting high quality visuals and outputs from Scope. So with that in mind, let me invite you once again to join our Discord. For people who are already there, you can ignore this QR code, but we are streaming to YouTube, to Instagram, to all over the places. So if you're not there, scan this QR code, join our Discord. That's the place where we are sharing the first news and updates, information, all about the things that we are currently developing and building. And I believe this little QR code on the top left will stay on while we're having this session. So that one should also lend you to our Discord. So it's a really nice community. Hope to see you as a part of our AI video program cohorts, but also just hang around with us, share your experiences, learn from others. We are seeing a lot of activity, and it's always nice to welcome new faces there. And the other thing is, of course, Scope being an open source project, there is our GitHub repo. Go there, check out what we are doing, clone the repo, give us some stars, leave some comments. Also, if you're encountering any issues, in addition to Discord that I mentioned earlier, please do go ahead and open some issues there, there on our GitHub repo if you're noticing any. That helps team a lot in prioritizing our work efforts and also gives us a good understanding of what works and what doesn't work. And to talk a little bit more about what works and how we can use Scope in different environments, and even if you are not coming from strictly engineering background, I'd like to invite Andrew. Andrew is very well known in our community. What's up, Andrew? Welcome again. Awesome to
Uh,
have you with us. Hi.
how are you?
Pretty good. Happy to see you here. I know that we moved a lot. We moved some schedules around today, so I know that we've been bugging you on WhatsApp, like, hey, can you make it, to this earlier session? So I'm happy that you can. Hopefully everything
Yeah,
works as planned.
yeah. I was getting everything set up, but hopefully it does work. Yeah, just wanted to come up here and show off what I made today, which was basically a proof of
Hmm?
concept thing. where I was able to essentially, I vibe coded a plugin for Scope, and it's basically just like a very simple text display, and the whole point of it is just to render text like onto the Scope live stream. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to try making Daydream like local, just like on my MacBook, and see how that works, and like how to talk to how to like get different parts like talking, I guess, from like Scope website to like a Bridge website to like Touch Designer. And so right now, essentially, it's like this is like a UI that is a remote control for this local instance of Scope. And then there's like a viewer right here. And what I can do is I can like be like, I can change this here, and I can send like an update, and it'll change right here. And yeah, like there's also how do I here? What if I do it like this? I bring this one out. Oh, there we go. Lots of tabs going on right now. But so this is like the viewer, and yeah, like you can just like send updates remotely, just like so. And I also have like this auto update, which will basically automatically, yeah, it's a bit laggy because my MacBook is like on like very low power because I woke up and it was like dead. But locally, it's like it's gonna be a bit laggy, depending on like how hot my Mac is. But like the whole point of this is like, oh, like we can like bring this off to like run Pod or whatnot, right? But this other part that I was able to like sort of get is like down here is like an OSC log, and OSC is a way to talk between different applications via like signals. And so another thing that you can do is, well, I have this fun little setup right here, and it's like this is like kind of just like trying to mirror the Stream Diffusion TD world of stuff, where it's like, oh, like you have like a prompt box, and then you have like an output right now, and like right now it's like not matched, but like I can literally just go into here and then just like be like, oh yeah, there we go. I can be like, what's up, guys? And there we go. It updates like automatically. And another thing is that like there is this like system down here that I made, which is basically a bunch of different, like there's like like 3 sliders, and you can just be like, I can change this like all the way up, and that's all white. And then I can turn these all down, and then it's all black, right? And then another thing you can do is, well, like, a great thing about Touch Designer, and like why a lot of like users probably want Scope in Touch Designer, is because there's like parameter automation, and like you can do just like a very simple, like you don't need to like really think about, like you can build your own systems to just like automate like prompts, or like like denoising steps, or control net steps, or like
can you talk more about that? Like when you said sending use parameters, like what was your approach on how to do it? Because people have been asking about that. We are also interested in finding the most efficient way. How you solve that problem, or at least how you try solving it.
So for me, there is something called a OSC OSC out in Touch Designer right now. Okay. And so there is something where you can, so right now I switched it so it's like the noise, like this color is kind of driving this this guy right here. But what is happening is actually, oh my god, it's so laggy. What's happening right here is it's taking the values of this color data, like this constant right here, and then it's basically I'm sending that into a DAT, and then this is just like a table, and then that table is basically just sending out this command right here that is just saying, oh, like these this is my red, this is my blue, this is my green, and then the OSC, like the Bridge website, I think, sorry, Scope ends up taking this command as like the parameters. And so what
does that mean that these sliders will be, that thing, Are the sliders moving because of that?
Yeah, so the sliders are actually like you can see them moving live, and you can see that every single frame, if my touch designer isn't lagging, it's like updating, like so. And so this is like just a way to kind of, but basically like Scope is just kind of picking up on this and like plugging that into the pipeline, the text pipeline, and yeah, I think
when you say picking up on that, how are you doing it? Like, are you updating the parameters in real time? And you said you vibe coded this. Can you tell me how it's working? Are you reading the stuff in real time, or it's saving them somewhere and then Scope rereads it continuously? How's that implemented?
Yeah, so I'm not entire. So I vibe coded this entire thing. So like yesterday, I think I hit my limit. So I was like, what happened? And that was interesting. Did not know that there was a limit for Cloud Code. So just be careful when you're.
Anthropic has to make some money. Yeah.
Yeah, be careful for if you're asking stupid questions. Don't ask stupid questions. But I do like I believe what is happening is, oh man, I have like this server. I think it's this it's this one right here that runs the OSC and or like the receiver for OSC. So I don't actually know exactly how anything works, but like I feel like anyone else would probably be able to, anyone who has like API usage like knowledge, then they would know what's like kind of going on. But for me, like a pretty surefire way of like kind of not debugging, but just like making this kind of work smoothly is there's like a few MCP servers that I've been using that help a lot. Which is the first one is being Context 7, because Context 7 has access to both the Daydream API, the Scope API, the Scope API, plugin APIs, also Touch Designer APIs.
Yeah, we ingested all of it, right? So once people are using it, it has access to entire docs, which is like 700,000 tokens in total. So all of it is readily available for people.
Yeah, it's really great. And then like Claude, like I like did like a little like crash course on it, but there's like a little Claude MD file that kind of like is like it's kind of like working, not memory, but it's just like you can give it reminders. So it's like, oh, like I can like like every single time I ask for a node, like what does it do? Like it will like check Context 7 for me immediately. And then also like another one is Playwright. So Playwright is like one where you can like literally like open up like a Chrome browser and then like Claude will like take screenshots and like look through like what is going on and be able to like fix things and test things on its own and like iterate on itself, which has been really helpful.
I wanted to ask you like why are you using Playwright MCP, because I've seen it yesterday. I think when we had a conversation, I assumed that maybe you wanted to use it for UI testing, because it's very useful for that as well, right? Because it sees the stuff. It can be used for orchestration, even for writing those tests. But you've been using it in a somewhat similar way, right? So it takes the screenshot and feeds it into Claude's context, so it understands if something went south, right? That's the idea.
Yeah, exactly. Like it works really well on like reading like the networks, and then like the inspect element stuff, and then like figure things out. Like I like broke this like 5 different times yesterday, and each time I was like, okay, just like go on Playwright and like, or like use Playwright to like plug in and like see what's going on. And yeah, it works pretty well. And obviously like it's probably a lot better if you have a little bit of like coding background, so that you don't end up using all of the tokens, or like you're asking better questions. But for someone who I'm not that code savvy, it got the job done, and this is like kind of like a proof of concept type of like thing, where it's like like you could like, the whole idea of this is just like being able to like type something in like here, and then it's taking all of the change,
Mm-hmm.
and then instead of this being like a text box, think of this as like, oh, like it being a prompt, right? And
That
then
you send to Scope to a pipeline, and then Scope renders it. Is that the intention that you're talking about, or what?
sorry.
So the idea here is, okay, now obviously works for text, right? But your idea right here would be that this could also be like a prompt that gets sent to Scope, and then long live Korea or whatever it is that we're running as a pipeline would render that into some visual and update it. Is that the goal?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the biggest goal right here, and just being able to just control everything within being able to control everything within Touch Designer without needing to leave it, is like great, because like just being able to just like drag like certain sliders up and down is pretty
Mm-hmm.
ideal for anyone who's like trying to um trying to use like any sort of um I guess like real-time AI in Touch Designer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like, you know, it's just like you like Touch Designer is such a good place to just be able to make anything, control anything. Like this is like color, but this could also be like like audio input, and then eventually like maybe like even piping in like another like visual that is like another like image that could be your input visual, right? Like all of these sort of things
Mm-hmm.
is like what like I'm trying to achieve right now. And despite this being local, like there's also um like I also have a run pod instance. And oh yeah, that's another thing. Like the plugin is like itself, it's like a pipeline, right? So like you can just
Yep.
like if I just run this right now, like this is something that I learned, which is like I kind of assumed that like um so this is like two, like I just assumed that like, oh, like if I have like my bridge API,
Mm-hmm.
like my bridge like website connected to like the scope, that like this guy would kind of just take over. But no, it's like it's kind of like there's like two instances of like outputs going on right now, and like scope can just like handle multiple like instances of like a video generation, I guess. Like I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Like I thought that these would kind of be matching, but like no, they're like completely different, which I was kind of like pretty surprised about, because again, I don't come from like a background where I'm
Mm-hmm.
like using servers like ever. But like yeah, like these are like two completely separate um instances of like a stream, I guess, I think. And like yeah, like
But
they can do
they're also on different ports, right? So they're not clashing with each other. So that's why you're not experiencing any of those issues. But I'm happy to see that you were able to build a plugin. So the plugin itself, the one that you're showing off here, you vibe coded that thing as well, or how is that experience? How did you do it?
yeah.
Can you walk us through the process?
Yeah. So the vibe coding, the plugin itself was pretty simple actually. It was
Mm-hmm.
um you know you have like two tutorials on it, and like it's actually, yeah, it's really easy. All you really have to do is just like um
I mean, I'm curious, do you use the skill or you use the MCP or a combination of both? Because we have tutorial that covers both of those things, right, in the docs. Some
yeah.
people, and they're not mutually exclusive, right? You can use one and then continue with the other. What was your workflow? I'm curious.
So for me, I use the like the MCP.
Mm-hmm.
Um and honestly, that was just like a choice that I made myself. There wasn't anything like crazy like difference for me. But it was cool seeing like it populate and sort of like, oh, like this is like, yeah, like one of the things that I was able for it to do is like, oh, it could like check like different fonts, like it gets like all of the different fonts, and it
Mm-hmm.
I think like this is actually like a bit messed up though, because I was like, oh, like like make sure it doesn't display like certain fonts,
I
or like
think
make
I
sure.
think what they did there, it went for the web safe fonts and then for their locations that are on Linux, Mac, and Windows. That's what I'm seeing in that code, right?
Yeah,
So that you
yeah,
can have the priority.
yeah. And then um yeah, like it can get available fonts, and then like it takes in all of these like float fields, and which I thought was really cool. And then there's like a text, like a string field, and all that sort of stuff, and it just kind of populates itself. And yeah, I just used the MCP. I also tried using the Create Scope plugin, like Scale, which was also really easy. You just like do like you just like do / create, and then it just makes it for you.
Yep.
There's not like anything hard about it at all. It honestly, like the hardest part was probably setting up VS Code and then getting Claude in, um, because that was like this MacBook didn't have VS Code before, so I had to install like a bunch of like stuff like that. But like again, like I don't know, like I was asking like ChatGPT on that, and anything that you don't really know, you can just be like, how do I get it done? And then it will just I like using screenshots and stuff like that. It will just like get it down pretty easily. A lot of this stuff you can do via like terminal as well. So just being able to like type in the right like commands for your terminal instance is like you can it will just like you could just probably install everything here, and it like works pretty straightforward.
I mean, a bunch of people in the previous cohorts and in this one, right? They've been interacting primarily with Scope through the API, right? And for them, using VS Code or using terminal for all of those instances, especially if they're from the engineering background, comes very natural. Similar to like you're using the Touch Designer, and I would probably have to ask ChatGPT even how to install Touch Designer and do any single thing. So I'm always curious here, to see how Scope, which comes from this background, how people coming from your background or various different backgrounds, how they find a common ground. So that's why I kept asking you, like, how difficult was it for you, or how easy was it for you? Now thinking about this, and I remember 3 weeks ago, we had a session when you showed off how you fed visuals from Touch Designer to Scope. That was a completely different approach compared to this one, right? In that case, you used what? Was it like the NDI virtual camera? How do you compare that experience to this one here?
Yeah, the NDI thing is like a lot like that has like no coding involved entirely, right? And I think that the idea is that, hopefully out of this cohort, I can create something that is shareable, where it can bring that like experience back, where it's like no code. This is a lot of coding, and it's not even that much coding in the sense of like I'm not even coding, but like it's like this is like an engineering realm that a lot of people who want to play around with live visuals might not be comfortable in doing. So for me, it's like how do I create something that is able to be shared so that someone can just plug and play. And I think I think that the NDI out stuff for that that was like very plug and play, and I think that bringing that back is like pretty important. And honestly, yeah, like the OSC and like OSC and NDI, I think we're trying to get that support into Daydream so that we don't have to like make this like bridge server thing that like I'm trying out. And I really hope that we do end up doing that, because like OSC is just so powerful. Like it's just like you can control whatever you want, and
for me, who doesn't know about it, like, is that some kind of a protocol, or how would you describe it to someone who is not coming from that world?
Yeah, it's man, I don't even know how to explain it that well either, but it's just like you can send signals over networks essentially. And like these networks, like these signals, you can kind of like you can like pack them, unpack them, and just like it will be like it's just information, right? It's like information from one software to another software. And like how I like the reason why I know about it is because I make music in this one software, and the music, like there's like a lot of information in terms of like frequencies, and I get those frequencies out of that one software into Touch Designer, and then like those frequencies in Touch Designer, like I can like it's basically just like kind of like tossing it like from one software, because like like if you're like thinking about it in terms of like, I don't know, like a Word document, right? Like
Mhm.
like think about it as like, oh, like like if I can like grab like this like text right here, and then I could like paste it like, I don't know, like I guess like somewhere here, right? Like
Mhm.
ah, ah, like there, right? Like
Gotcha.
that is like kind of like the idea of OSC, where it's like, okay, you can't really like copy and paste these like different like signals from like software A to software B, because they might not like actually be like, there's like no way to really do that. So like OSC kind of allows you to do this like copying pasting, where it's like, oh, like
Mhm.
yeah, you have like this like sound frequency that's like just a number. How do we like automatically send it into Touch Designer so that we can like use it? And then in Touch Designer, I'm using that like that number to like generate like, I don't know, like a color or something like that, right? Like, and it's like
Gotcha.
uh, yeah, and so like that's like exactly what's like going on here, where it's like, oh, this log right here, I can just, you know, I
I
can just like
mean,
add
what's
one.
super interesting for me is that I just checked it out, right? It stands for Open Sound Control. Basically, like a standard for exchanging those messages. But you're using it here for something that has nothing to do with sound, right? You're just intercepting messages, as a bits of information, and then ingesting them in scope to try and rebuild the experience. So that's probably not how it was envisioned when it was created, but at the end, at the same side, at the same story, scope didn't even exist then, and a lot of these things are happening right now. One thing that you mentioned, like with the NDI, right? It was super easy for you because you just use it as a virtual camera, and then in scope you had this input where you could easily point to it. Um, Scope now does have an NDI support, with for the input side of it, right? And the output side of the NDI support is also coming soon. Previously, we also had this, and it's still available. It's been built by one of our colleagues, Julie. There was this NDI bridge, but now we are building this, natively. It's already available within Scope, which is nice. Together, in addition with Spout on Windows, and I know a couple of people have been asking about Siphon on Mac, which is almost like a counterpart of Spout on Windows, Siphon on Mac. It's not something that we currently have built in, but it is something that we are considering adding. So the idea here for us is to try and see how Scope fits into different creative workflows. And NDI, Spout, Siphon, whatever, even the thing that you just hacked here is very telling for us, and as we are trying to understand, how it fits into those creative workflows. What surprised you the most, would you say, in your efforts of building a plugin and building this bridge? Was there like a wow moment, something that blew your mind?
Um, I think this entire thing is just kind of blowing my mind. I think the
Okay.
playwright thing is like kind of insane. Yesterday I was like, wow, this is like crazy, because it's like y- being able. I think like I always kind of thought that like vibe coding was like this idea of like, oh, like here's a bunch of my code. I'm gonna copy
Okay.
it and paste it into a chatbot, and then it's gonna spit out more code for me. And then like you replace that. Like that was like kind of like the loop, right? And it's just like you
Mm-hmm.
like paste it, test it, and then you like refresh. No, like vibe coding is like this entire thing where it's like, oh, like you are, you give like Claude access to your like your Visual Studio Code, and then you can also give it access to a tool where it's like, oh, like you can open up whatever you're coding, and then it just kind of iterates on itself. It improves
Mm-hmm.
by itself. Like you don't even need to step in. Like eventually, like you can, but like it like you don't need to. Like it kind of just like does it yourself. And so like when I was building this, like it was like kind of like making things better on its own, where it was like it kind of built like this like OSC log on its own, because like one thing was like before it used to only pick up like the
Uh-huh.
valid like channels. But like there's also, but then I was like, when I was sending this, and I think I can do this like right now, I can do
That's it.
like let's see if that works. Oh, maybe not. um
The message was supposed to be visible here, or what? What is the expected
yeah.
outcome?
Yeah, so before I was testing this, it was just picking up on the valid
Uh-huh.
OSC things, and like these are the ones that like Scope is actually picking up and like kind of injecting into the server. But then like right here I added another one, and like before when I was testing it, it was this one was being like, before when I was testing it, like this doesn't actually like map to any parameter, so it wasn't showing up. So, like, you know, it kind of picked up on that, and it was like, oh, like maybe we should add like an unknown like section where it's like, oh, like these aren't
like handling the exceptions or parameters that are not.
Yeah, handling the missing ones. But I guess it broke because I wasn't like, eventually I kind of like settled down into like this little format right here, which is like 3 always. So I haven't really seen any unknown stuff, but it just like, it kind of is like if you give it the right, I don't want to say it's smart because I don't think it is like smart in that sense, but it's like if you give it, if you're smart about it, like if you're smart and you're like giving it like barriers of like, oh, like make sure that this is like, you know, like you're catching like errors, or you're like making sure that like I need, like I as like a developer need to see everything that's going on to actually understand why things aren't like working. It will kind of catch that and be like, oh, like, you know, like the person who's prompting me is like wanting to know like every detail, right? Like it doesn't only want the successes, it wants like the errors as well, so like it can like whoever's like developing this can also learn, which I thought was really cool.
One thing that's, you know, unrelated to this, you know, for example, when you were showing that code, right, of processing the OSC, you told me like, oh, I'm not even sure what it does. I think that there is a built-in Claude skill that's called something like explain code. Or the other option is you can just easily copy paste that piece of code in the context window and ask Claude, hey, can you explain this to me like I'm a, I don't know, a high schooler or a beginner developer, stuff like that. Walk me through it. Depending on, you know, sometimes you can go like, explain it to me like I'm 5, right? You don't need to go to that level, but it's actually really cool because, as you said, it gives you an opportunity to learn, not to just mindlessly, you know, accept whatever it is, right? It can be like a really good co-pilot for you in that way, helping you understand what's happening, not just, you know, accepting everything that's being created. So if you get a chance to try that one out as well.
Yeah, I think that's like a really cool thing too. There's also this like init function that I've already called before, but like any sort of like folder that you're in, you can slash init.
Kickstarting it, yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of gives you, it will give you like a little documentation that like it's been a minute, but it kind of gives you like some nice documentation, like, oh, like what is this? You know, what is this entire like list, and like what does everything do? And like you can ask it to get more specific, you can ask it to like, you know, remember certain parts of it that, you know, understand it. And
one thing that you mentioned earlier about ClaudeMD file that you're just showing, right? Most people, I'm assuming that are watching this or have some, you know, experience with development, they already know about it. But ClaudeMD, the entire content here is passed in with every single message that you're sending. So it's almost like a constant set of rules or guidelines or guardrails that the agent has in mind, right? So that's good, but also you need to be mindful of not having it too long, because, you know, it can eat up into your context. Yeah. So there's a comment. Jumper says, in your Claude Markdown file, there is a book icon in the top right that will help you view it formatted properly.
Oh.
You can do that. I don't see it because it's behind the one next to it. And you should be able to see it. There you go.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my God.
It renders it so you don't have to translate, you know, the hash as a title or a table. So this is much easier to read for you.
Markdown.
Thanks, Jabri. That's a nice tip.
Really,
it's a great one.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah.
How did you figure out about the Playwright? Most people who are just starting with this, I know that you're, you know, drifting a little bit from the topic of Touch Designer itself, but I'm curious, how did you find about Playwright? Most people don't find about it just you know in the first days of cloud coding, and you just did. So I'm curious.
Let me. Oh my gosh.
Did chat recommend it to you? Like, did Claude recommend it itself, saying like, you know, you could use this or what?
There was so you were the one who sent me there was like a crash course for
Yeah, was it mentioned there?
that Anthropic made, and yeah, I forget what it was called, but I will link it in the chat later. But it kind of gives you like a pretty good start on what like vibe coding can be. And one of the like lessons, it's like really quick. It's like it probably took me like a few hours to finish. Like no, not
Okay.
even like it. I don't even yeah, like maybe 2 hours. But one of the episodes is like like MCP servers, and was it was basically teaching you how to install an MCP server, and then the MCP server was Playwright, and then
Okay, got it.
yeah, it was showing off like how to iterate using Playwright. And yeah, even the guy who was making the tutorial was like, wow, this is really good. Like he was surprised on it too, and I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, I think it's like probably a pretty powerful one that you should be using if you're like trying to do something on the website on the web.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and
I mean,
then
couple of things that people have just brought up in chat, and I think they're relevant. There is this notion, and I would say rightfully so, that people sometimes think and just let into vibes, as Andre Carpenter said, without really considering stuff related to security, related to performance optimization, and stuff like that. Even when you use Playwright, I was like, why would someone? I mean, not why would, but it's unexpected for someone to be aware of it that early in their vibe coding journey, because it's typically used in together with, I don't know, Selenium or some other testing frameworks, or just automate browsers and stuff like that. But it's good that Anthropic actually added that in their course, obviously trying to instill a little bit more of that discipline around testing and code security and code safety, not just YOLOing it all and hoping for the best and trying to avoid the worst.
yeah, I think there's probably a lot more nuance on stuff like that. Definitely like code optimization and code security. Definitely, I'm like
Yep.
opening up a bunch of servers and like I'm like, I don't know any of that. So it's like we like I think it's definitely to be mindful, and like if anyone has any like suggestions on I don't know good practices or
Well,
better MCP servers or whatever, like things that can help sort of keep that in mind. Because again, like I feel like vibe coding might seem like magic um, to someone like me, but I think that there's like a lot that you kind of need to make
mm,
sure is working, like or like not working, but like you need a lot to keep in mind because it's like it probably isn't magic in the sense of like you get like this final product and you think it's like good enough. Like there's probably like a bunch of ways to like fix it, right? And it's like this
yeah.
itself is like a skill that you can improve on.
So couple of things that were brought up here in chat, and I want to expand on them. So guys, by the way, thank you for sharing them. Jumper said, yeah, you can get AI to write tests for you at the very least. Be it unit tests or even integration tests with some of the more advanced MCPs. Those things help a lot. Other thing that when you asked about the good practices, you could also check, and there are those skill marketplaces for Claude. Probably some that could do a solid security review just to make sure that you are not, I don't know, committing your .env files to GitHub and all the things like that. Cosmic Crafter shared an npm Sentinel MCP as another great tool that could be used. So a bunch of those things already exist. I wouldn't even think about vibe coding as that different from traditional engineering. It's a different paradigm. But as you said, people usually think it's just I give it a prompt and hope for the best or copy paste it. It's just another engineering paradigm that is obviously evolving, much as those tools are evolving. For me, what's interesting to see is that for someone who did not have that kind of exposure before, just like yourself in this case, was able to build something like this. Using the USC lead and probably just saying, hey, USC logs and saying, scope like, hey, I have these logs, I want to, channel them in and do something around it. So that was pretty inspiring. Yeah, skill scanner as well from Cosmic Crafter. So not to trust skills blindly, because skills are, I could add into something malicious. So skills should be checked as well, so that you are not using a
Yeah.
skill thinking that this will blink by plugin, and in the background it compromises your machine or does something that it shouldn't do. So another reason for people to join our Discord, because these links and these stuffs are currently being shared on our stage by community members there. So Jambri and Cosmic Crafter, thank you so much for adding value there. That's awesome, and they're super useful. And this one is from Cisco, so Cisco AI Defense. So should be legit. I doubt that Richard would share something scammy with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew,
That's
what's next for
awesome.
you? What's the plan? I mean, not just for this cohort, but also what we can expect from you as you are learning more about these things and about scope itself. What can we expect to see?
I think the next thing that I want to do is I want to this was like a test, and I think it worked. I think now what I want to do is I want to switch it up to, instead of loading a plugin pipeline, to load in an actual video model pipeline. So yesterday I tried that and it didn't work, and I think I just need to. I don't know. I don't really know how to go about it. I think I might have to like restart or try to pick out the things that are working from the stuff that I've already built, because I don't think I can just.
I can give you a tip. Do you want to open a tab and go to our plugin registry on the Daydream Live? So for the people, for the crowds, and just go to Scope Plugins at the top. Right. So for everyone watching, if you go to app.daydreamlive/plugins, you will be able to see as soon as they load on Andrew's Mac and his browser. I don't know what's going on.
My Mac is really slow.
This should not be happening. No, I wanted to show off like a bunch of plugins here. No worries. Let's pretend they're already here. They'll show up at some point. The thing is, there they are. Yeah. There they are. So you can see there's a bunch of them that have been built by our community members, but also a bunch of them are built by people from the team. If you go, for example, I think Hunter built one. Scroll up a little bit. Yeah, that's the one from Cosmic. Flux Klein. So that one, yeah, that's the one that built by Hunter. So that's the example of plugin that is ingesting, or basically using an external pipeline, using a Flux Klein model to build it, to pull it in. And obviously it's also shared on GitHub. And there is another one that's Scope LTX2 plugin involving the Lightrix model. It should be somewhere. There you go, LTX2. That one is a little bit heavier, so you'll probably need Rampad instance to be able to run it. So you can check those two, and you can check the first plugin that we ever built, Scope Overworld, to see how those have been implemented. That's one for the real-time world models. Sorry, so mouthful. So you can just paste in like this image like this one, and you can use like WASD keys on your keyboard and walk through that world, which is pretty amazing. So I would suggest, because all of these have their GitHub repos, you can feed those GitHub repos as context to Claude and ask, tell it, hey, I would like to implement, I don't know, I think I saw someone did like a segment anything model 3, SAM3 was somewhere, yeah, Scope SAM3D. So a bunch of these things, from Hunter. There you go, I didn't even know that this one was from Kim. So bunch of these things, go check the GitHub, and from there you should be able to get a better understanding of how those, I don't want to call them like third-party plugins. They all are in a way third-party, but how the inference would work. And it is a different ballgame. Those are way more complex than building, relatively simpler visual effects plugins. Not that there are those trivial, but compared to these pipelines, because they involve inference, they involve a bunch of parameters updates. So best suggestion here would be check the existing implementation, feed them to Claude, and try to vibe off of it. But I think that we might end up creating a skill or more docs around that, so that could help people to bring in different pipelines as well. So different models, something that we don't support just yet. So yeah, there are like essentially they're the same, but there are some fundamental differences that you should be mindful of. So check those GitHub repos. Same stuff goes for everyone else. That should work. Those should work. What's really nice about plugins, though, is that you can just paste the GitHub repo in scope right when you're running it, and it's just there. So you get to explore them pretty quickly. Most of them don't have like really complex dependencies in the background or artifacts, so you can just work on it like that. I'm super curious to see if someone will build like a full-blown integration between Touch Designer and Scope down the road. You've shown one way with the OSC. I'm guessing with NDI and with a bunch of other things, we'll see those creative workflows taking shape. All right, let me see if we have any other questions, or we pretty much covered them. Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool.
We're good. Let me just check here. Awesome. Andrew, once again, thank you so much for joining, and thanks for being flexible around your schedule. Thanks also to everyone who joined us live, because we moved this a little bit, but luckily it's being recorded. So it's in our YouTube channel. I'll be posting it to our Discord, so you can always catch up with us, even if our time schedule today didn't work out for you. I encourage you to stay in touch with us, see what this cohort is building. We will have a bunch of events around that and future cohorts coming up as well. So stay tuned, and yeah, keep building with Scope. I'm super curious to see what you end up creating. Take care, everyone. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Nice.